smart and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new type of video. And this video is going to be for basically how I'd make a better version of a film that isn't that good, and what could be done better. And I was watching one of rewatching one of Rambo Raff for Life's rants, kind of rants on VHS 99, and he mentioned how he'd replace a certain segment in the second film of the series he liked, with only one segment he liked from the third one, and that got me the idea of how I would make a better version of the 2012 found footage anthology horror film VHS. Because I gotta say, before I get into my thoughts, this movie actually had the potential to be a pretty good found footage film. But sadly, a lot of things kind of ruined it. Now to get in my thoughts of the film. Now, you guys remember 2.5 years ago when I first year of YouTube and I reviewed VHS, the first film, reviewed the first 3 movies? Well, I gotta say, my opinion has changed. You all remember I used to give it a 6 out of 10? Well, after some rewatches, it's not that great anymore. No, there's a lot of things I dislike about this movie, and it's now changed to 5 out of 10 because Rambo Raff for Life and OSP Communications really did not like this film, and if you watch this movie, you can kind of see why. Because, first off, the characters are very despicable in any of the segments, and the wraparound the most. 2, none of the segments were really scary, except for really one. 2 had, a second one did have some moments. I mean, the very last segment did have some moments, but didn't really compare to the first segment. The first segment, to me, was the only one that really worked. And 3, the characters were not only despicable in the wraparound, but they were also stupid. Probably some of the stupidest protagonists I've ever seen, and I mean like Halloween Kills levels of stupid. Because, basically, the guys we focus on in the wraparound are literally scumbag criminals. Our first scene of the movie basically shows them sexually assaulting a woman. They basically lift up her top, film it, in the parking lot even, which, in real life, that's a public place, and they'd probably get caught quick. Which is because they could literally just find that video on the internet and report them. They would get busted quick in real life. But then again, people in this franchise are really dumb to begin with, and then they're assigned to go steal a VHS tape from the house. I mean, just steal a VHS tape and leave the house. And of course, one of the stupidest thing they do, they watch the tape where there's this room with a dead guy and a bunch of TVs. You want to know what they do? Instead of getting a little suspicious and just taking the tapes and leaving the house and just watching the tapes back at their place, they choose to watch the tapes in the room with the dead guy. They're sitting near the dead, right near where the dead guy's sitting. And they basically die one by one each time we get back to the wraparound. So, yeah, when the room keeps changing, basically either the dead body will be gone or one of the criminals will be gone. Which is not a bad kind of jump scare where you have the room changing, but if you're going to have that jump scare in a wraparound, don't have it happen by having your characters be fucking idiots that get themselves killed off easy because they're too dumb to think of their plan. But anyway, the point is, this is going to be how I would make the movie better. So, to start things off, we could with VHS, I would have it be all the segments from VHS 2 minus the eyeball one. And then you have replace it with the only good segment from Viral, and that's Bone Storm. So, that being said, we'll get to that in a little bit, but so how the movie would begin. The movie would begin with the very infamous segment from the first film, Amateur Nights, because I know, like, Amateur Night was actually the only segment I really liked from the first film. Have it be that, and then after that segment, it turns out it was a short film that our new main characters we should have focused on in the wraparound were watching on their TV. And it turns out our protagonists, how I would have done the wraparound, are actually film school graduates, not criminals, scumbags we don't care about. They were watching this segment, they're like, what was that? Well, that was not realistic. And then yeah, we get a little bit of douchey banter from them, but it turns out it's just like, it's this jokey douchey banter, and they just say it to kind of with them to kind of mess around with each other. They're actually still likable people and stuff. They're actually now they're about to graduate film school soon, and they kind of want to get the idea to make a found footage horror film because of all the success of found footage horror films. So they kind of want, some of them they didn't really like, and to decide they want to make a better one. Eventually they can't come up with ideas. One of them gets the idea. There's this myth of this house that has a bunch of VHS tapes. And so they decide that maybe they could steal some VHS or take some VHS tapes from the house because the house is really abandoned. And like he also mentions that but we don't have a VCR player. But then the guy would mention, I got a VCR player from a thrift store. That's why I asked the idea recently. Like, you guys can go and I'll set up the VCR player on our TV. So some of them go to borrow some tapes from the house. They find the house. They go into the house. And they decide, like, let's see. Around the park. 103198. Save in. Surveillance abduction. That'd be 5 tapes they steal. Or, no, not steal. Take from the house, or... Yeah. So they select 5 tapes. And they see a dead guy. Obviously, the dead guy would still be there. And they're like, let's just get the tapes, let's get out of here. And they do that. They don't stick around. They don't stupidly die one by one. Like, they go back to their place. Like, however, we get a little brief glimpse of the window through the room where the dead guy is. He's not sitting there no more for the glimpse of the window. But they don't have time to notice that. They just want to get out of here and just go back and watch their tapes and get the idea for their film. So they get back to the place. The VCR player's all set up and stuff. And they get ready. Like, they're like, huh. And they see the tape that contains 103198, and they're like, let's watch this tape first. Let's watch them from oldest to newest. So they do that. It starts off with them watching 103198, then that segment, and 103198 had a joke ending where they all survived the train. I pretend to be that ending version with the ending, where it's a joke ending where they all survive, and then that segment ends. And then as each segment ends in the wraparound, you can blurringly see this kind of dark, shadowy figure all the way back, like watching him through the window. And then they're like, well, that was interesting. Not really film-like, though, is what they'd say after that segment ends. And then they're like, well, there's this... And then they're like, there's this one called Safe Haven. Let's watch that next. They watch that. Then after that ends, they kind of like that idea, so they put it on their list, but what they don't see yet, is the dark shadowy figure kind of gets an inch bit closer and stuff, and yeah, after safe, and then they pop it and they read their next one, and that says, a ride in the park. Interesting. They put that one in. And then after a ride in the park ends, which is the one with the zombie point of view, the shadow figure is kind of getting closer and closer and up around, and then they're like, okay, I like that better than the other. I like that one the most. They put that one on their little whiteboard of the ideas they want to make for their film. And then one of the guys is gone. Like, where's the other guy? Like, he said he'd be back. Maybe he just went to the bathroom, but, well, guys, they don't know that yet. They kind of don't know what's happening because they're kind of a little busy trying to think of their film ideas, but And they just think he'll be back from the bathroom, but anyway, they don't have time to think about that. They pop in their next segment. And that is, of course, Slumber Party Alien Abduction. After Slumber Party Alien Abduction finishes, and they're like, after the ending, that was a little cruel at the end. That was not very fair, and so they scrapped that one off the list because they didn't like the way it ended. But like the shadowy figures once again getting a bit closer to the window, like and stuff. So they pop in their next one, and that's of course Bone Storm. Their final one they pop in. After Bone Storm ends, they're pretty much like, well, I guess that's it for our segments. We better go walk now. We better go right down. Let's go write down what we think is the best one, and we'll have a little votes on which one we'll make. So, but there's a catch. The shadowy figure that was getting closer and closer to the window each time each segment ended is not there anymore. Once they turn on the lights, they see the guy that was missing earlier is dead. Once they turn on the lights, not just that, but what's standing in front of his dead body is the dead old guy, just standing right in the room. I mean, there's no loud bang or something. It would be a pretty effective jump scare where they just see the zombie standing there furiously. It's because like having the dead old guy be a zombie was kind of a unique idea, but they now see that and they realize the dead old guy actually had secretly followed them back unnoticed, and like they're now screwed. So as each of them try running out of the house, like the zombie kills them one by one. It's down to our two final ones. As they realize they probably realize they can't really outwit the old guy. So one of them tells the guy to run to get himself killed so the other guy can escape. That guy dies, but the zombie then notices the final guy left, but what does he do? No, he doesn't stupidly get himself killed. He picks up the camera, runs up to the dead old guy, bashes it in the face repeatedly to a pulp. So instead of like ending on the found footage cliche, I'd actually have it end with one survivor. The last film school graduate left smashes the dead old zombie guy, his face to a pulp, and makes sure he's really dead by hitting the camera into his face repeatedly, kind of like in the 2008 film Quarantine. 2008 American remake of Rat Quarantine, like, smashes its face in repeatedly. And yeah, and then the dead old guy's dead for real. And then he looks at the carnage and stuff, and he's like, how am I going to explain this to the police? And then that's it. The film ends right there. It ends with at least one survivor. It doesn't end on the typical Blair Witch Project cliche, like every found footage movie now does, but that's pretty much how I'd make VHS, the first film, if I were the director of it. Like, I would replace the boring Ty West segment, which was Second Honeymoon, Tuesday the 17th, remove the Skype segment as well, because that has no reason to be on a VHS tape. And it would kind of just work as just one movie. You know, it would be Amateur Night to start off the film, then we get to our first bit of the wraparound, then 10/31/98, and the next bit of a wraparound, Ride in the Park, Safe Haven, then our next bit of the wraparound, Ride in the Park, next bit of the wraparound, and finally Slumber Party Alien Abduction, our next part of the wraparound, and then finally Bone Storm. And then it ends with our final part of the wraparound. That is how I'd make the 2012 anthology horror film VHS. Now, I wish it would have went. If, like, let me know in the it probably wouldn't still be that great, but it'd be slightly better than what we got with the first film. That's what I think anyways. But I want in the comments below what you guys would have thought about this. How you guys would have thought about my version if that had been the version we got. And yeah. Until then, guys, that'll be it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Donji Corleone.